Welcome to the first episode of Let's Talk Global Warming. My name is Stevie. This is a purely informational channel and all of my facts come from verified and dependable sources, all of which you can check yourselves through the links in the description of this episode. This podcast is going to be all about global warming and its causes, effects, and the solutions being proposed by scientists worldwide. I am also going to keep you updated on breaking climate news, including breakthroughs in technology and any catastrophic weather caused by global warming. For my first episode, I figured we should start with what is causing the Earth to warm in the first place, the greenhouse effect, and what 1 or 2 more degrees of warmth could mean for our environment. Let's get started. The greenhouse effect is defined as the process through which greenhouse gases naturally heat the Earth. Here's how the greenhouse effect works according to the NRDC. The sun radiates solar energy down on the Earth. 30% of that sunlight is reflected back into space as soon as it hits the atmosphere, but the other 70% of the sunlight is absorbed by the Earth's surface and oceans for warmth. After the Earth is done with that sunlight, it is sent back up to space. So imagine a mirror for a second. If you shine a light on the mirror, it reflects it back up. In the same way, the sun shines on the Earth, and the Earth reflects that light back up. Now, according to NASA, if this was all the greenhouse effect did, the Earth would only be 0 degrees Fahrenheit. For that reason, it's great that greenhouse gases exist because without them, our world would be much chillier than it is today. So we've got solar energy being reflected back up into space, right? Now there are also greenhouse gases. Greenhouse gases are gases in the atmosphere that absorb the heat from the Earth and reflect it once again back onto Earth. If you're still having trouble seeing this, imagine you have 2 tennis players. The first player hits the ball to their opponent, and then the opponent hits it back. Something similar is happening to solar energy on Earth. The atmosphere hits the solar energy tennis ball down to Earth, then the Earth hits it back up to the atmosphere, then greenhouse gases hit the tennis ball back to Earth, and so on and so forth. That's the greenhouse effect. Of course, without the greenhouse effect, humans would likely not be able to survive on Earth. However, there's a twist. From this podcast, you're going to learn one thing over and over. Humans tend to mess things up a lot. So naturally, we also had to mess up the greenhouse effect. We did this by releasing greenhouse gases through activities like burning fossil fuels and raising livestock. This overload of greenhouse gases has resulted in global warmth, hence the phenomenon global warming. This effect can be best explained this way. If you were cold, you'd put on a jacket. But if you keep putting jackets on, you'd eventually get too hot. It's the same thing with the Earth. Humans keep putting greenhouse gas jackets on the Earth, resulting in it getting hotter. There are 5 major greenhouse gases that I'm going to talk about: carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, fluorinated gases, and water vapor. For each of these greenhouse gases, they're going to have their own episode. In my next episode, I will be discussing the most well-known of the greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide. So now that you understand the greenhouse effect, you may now be asking, how much hotter has it really gotten? According to the NRDC, 2014 through 2018 were the hottest years on record, resulting in a global average increase of 1 degree Fahrenheit since pre-industrial times. If no action is taken, scientists have estimated that this will increase to 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit between 2030 and 2052. In 2100, this will increase to 8 degrees Fahrenheit. 1 degree or even 8 degrees may sound insignificant, but believe me that even a 1 degree increase can make the difference between a healthy world and a world dominated by disease, natural disasters, and tragedy. Why is that? Well, as defined by NASA, global average temperature represents an average over the entire surface of the planet. Don't confuse this with a 1 degree difference in your daily temperatures like the ones you see on the Weather Channel. Those values vary all the time because of simple things like the season and the time of day. That's not this. I'm talking about a change in the amount of energy exchanged between the sun, atmosphere, and Earth, which is a value that varies very little. If you still aren't convinced, let's talk about what scientists estimate this 1 or 2 degree difference could do to life on Earth. An article from the NRDC vividly describes the tragic future we have ahead of us if no action is taken to stop global warming. Severe weather such as droughts, hurricanes, tornadoes, and flooding will become more intense and frequent. In dry areas, extreme heat worse than what is known today will result in food supplies depleted by failing agriculture and a shortage of water, which will lead to an intensified risk of human death and disease. On the other hand, wet areas will experience even more precipitation and flooding than they are used to, which can lead to damages to property in addition to a human health risk, as warm, wet environments are breeding ground for many diseases and disease-carrying insects like mosquitoes. As it gets hotter, the air will also become more polluted, as hotter conditions often lead to smog. Smog is linked to higher mortality rates for asthmatics and decreased health for those suffering from heart or lung conditions. According to a 2015 study cited in the article, vertebrate animals, or animals with a backbone, are already disappearing 114 times faster than they are supposed to. A hotter environment is going to make that even worse. In addition, a warmer Earth will result in acidification of the oceans, as the ocean absorbs excess emissions from the atmosphere. Acidification of the ocean poses massive threats to our friends under the sea, especially creatures with calcium carbonate shells or skeletons, such as crabs and coral. To top it all off, the Arctic's temperatures are already rising twice as fast as anywhere else on Earth, resulting in melting ice. Imagine what even more global warming would do to the already catastrophic warming in the Arctic. That's all I have for the greenhouse effect and the quick run through of what 1 or 2 more degrees of warmth will do to our environment. I know I didn't fully explain many of the topics that came up today, but in the future I will do individual episodes about many of the topics, including the Arctic, fossil fuels, and the ocean. I hope that all of you learned something new today and are perhaps already realizing how important global warming awareness is. In order to fight global warming, we first have to educate ourselves about what global warming is. If we just run into the battle blind, we won't win. That's why I'm starting this podcast. By myself, I can't make a huge difference. But with all of you with me, we can make a massive difference, because global warming is a battle we can win. It's a battle we won't win if we keep ignoring it like we do now. People have to realize that global warming is real. Global warming will change life on Earth for the worse if we don't do something about it. It's likely the biggest problem our world will ever face, but together, we can beat it. So for everyone listening to this podcast for the first time, I hope that you keep listening and inform yourself about the dangers of climate change so that together we can make a difference. Together, we can end global warming. Subscribe to this channel today and follow my page on Instagram at talking_about_global_warming so you can stay updated on new episodes and learn even more about global warming. Tell your friends, family, and everyone else about this channel so that even more people can be educated about the dangers of global warming. If you have any questions or if there's a climate change topic you'd like me to talk about, don't forget to comment below or on the Instagram post associated with this episode. Thanks for listening.